here is the good news. And, I have to get down into the weeds with the ingredients and the bad guys, but I also want to leave on a good note. So my recommendation to my clients is if you're just starting out to make change, right? Like you realize you got to make change, and so you don't know where to start. I always start with a smoothie, like ditch the bagel, ditch the Danish or the McDonald's McMuffins or whatever they are. Get rid of that and make a smoothie. We're supposed to get 5 to 9 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, right? And that's not so easy. But if you bang out a smoothie in the morning, that's like 5 right there, 5 or 6, depending upon what you put in it.
Yeah.
And they're so good too. Okay.
Barb, we have a question.
Yes.
And this might be part of the answer, like, changing one habit at a time. What would you recommend to do to support people who are just starting the lifestyle change? This is a lot of change. It is. And we all know, because people become attached to their food, my chocolate, my chips, my wine,
Absolutely.
my this, my that, right? We personify it. So how could we help people make these changes week to week? Like, what is the first thing you would eliminate from the diet?
Well, what I do is when I first start to work with someone, I have them keep a food log for me for like a week before we even meet. Then I get to see what their go-tos are, what they love, and this and that. Like for an example, I had a guy, Louis, that came to me, Italian guy, who was eating pasta every single day, and he couldn't understand why he had a gut. You know what I mean? And so I said, well, Louis, you're doing pasta 7 days a week. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to cut that back. Let's cut it back to 4 days, because you never want to tell people they have to stop it right now. It only makes them angry and very unhappy. So what we do is I try to cut it back. So instead of 7 days, I told Louis, okay, we're going to do it to 4. I notice you're not getting enough greens. Let's add some kale or some Swiss chard. Let's get some greens in there. Or let's get
speaking of greens, because this is interactive, we have something from one of our health educators in the area. Good. I've heard that including vegetables and greens in a smoothie can mess up how the stomach digests food, as it may digest spinach slower than a banana, for example. Is that true? I'm going to take a crack at this first. The spinach might digest more slowly because of the fiber content. And fiber is food, and that's why fibrous foods are lower on the glycemic index, right? Because they take longer to break down because of the cellulose and the fiber. So my question, and that's a great question, Imga, because I have the same question, because I use a lot of powdered dehydrated greens. So if the green is put in a smoothie, those cells, those fibrous cells are still in there. So, Barb and Jaime, is it not better for the body to go through the process of natural digestion of a whole vegetable versus liquefying the vegetable?
Jaime, you want to tell? I mean, I don't have an issue either way. I have had clients that have an issue, like with kale, it would bother their stomachs, in a smoothie. But I think, Jaime, I'm going to defer this to you.
I love these questions. We have so many in the chat, Barb. So fiber. If we just are going to get healthy, we're going to wake up, or it's a good day, we're going to start today, and we just load that smoothie up with fiber, the chances of having some gastrointestinal distress is inevitable for, I would say, 75% of people. So we want to start slowly if you have any concern of this. There are some digestible agents out there, but we wouldn't want to give Barb a coronary to possibly suggest. But yeah, so when we go through the motion of processing the food, instead of using our teeth, right? That's the blender is our teeth. There are we're missing that step, so to speak. But to Barb's point, this is a really solid way of introducing extra fruits and vegetables with all those micronutrients so that we have a healing factor.
Mhm.
And so we can sneak in a little bit more. And also, Barb, we could probably hand out a nice recipe alternative for meatloaf gravy using a blender that's healthy, right? So you can make lots of sauces and soups and fun stuff that way.
With a vegetable base, with a vegetable base.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Another question, I'm going to piggyback on that. Can this help with irritable bowel? Now, we talked about how if you're jumping right into like never eating vegetables and then you're eating 2 cups or 3 cups of spinach in a smoothie, how it could upset your stomach. The other way around. Now, how can this kind of diet help irritable bowel syndrome?
Well, I don't know that if you have irritable bowel, so I would opt in with a smoothie with all the fiber and stuff in it, you know, immediately. I mean, there are things like there are bone broths and different like soups and things that you can that are very healing for the gut. You know what I mean? We want to really have some healing take place that you can introduce. You know, to get that started there, and then very slowly add in other things as the day goes on. But yeah,
I love that, Barb. I love
yeah,
that. Even
yeah.
the addition, I don't know, what are your thoughts on collagen? Some people add
Yeah.
that.
Absolutely. 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 So yeah, good question. Good question.
So, medical disclaimer as well, you know, before making any major changes, have a partnership with a healthcare provider, right? Because some foods have interactions with some medications. So before supplementing, in addition to your dietary intake, always consult with your personal healthcare provider, because there are, again, interactions between supplements and medications, food and supplements, food and medications. So let's put that disclaimer out there.
Yeah, I mean, everybody is, and we're all unique. You know, it's not a one size fits all approach. Okay, so please know that.
Right.
And that's why I have people keep a food log before I even meet with them, so I can kind of get to see where they're at, what their symptoms are, what's going on.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up.
And then another question out here is, thank you, Leslie. How do we make sure we aren't overdoing the sugar, right? Throwing all that sweet fruit and blending it up. How do we make sure we're not overdoing the sugar?
Well, I know, like for an example, I run detox groups too, and we have a group starting on Sunday, and oh my goodness, and I just lost my whole train of thought. I am so sorry. What did you ask me again, Laura?
So the question is, okay, so the question is, how do we make sure we're not putting too much sugar in our diet?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah. Well, you have to like when we have the detox.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Like I have during the detox, we do no more than 35 to 45 grams of sugar in a day. So in a full day, Jamie, what would you recommend would be a suitable number for a regular day, not a detox?
Well, I'm going to go along with your counting the chemicals and not all this other stuff. I would love to circle this back up to Suzanne's question, if you don't mind, to piggyback. So the question Suzanne posed was, what would you recommend to do to support people to start the lifestyle change? This is a lot of change. How would you help them make these changes week to week? What to eliminate or change first? So number one factor, I think we need to take a look at the overall, I don't want to steal your thunder, Barb. I know you got a slide on this, but hydration.
Yes.
So if you are drinking enough water, then that's not caffeinated, that's not sugar induced water, enough water, you know what, it's safe to say that probably your body will start to readjust to the volume of natural occurring sugars. Natural occurring sugars that we find in produce, even in our dairy, they are not, I don't want to demonize them. And so each one of us has different needs, and they do include caloric needs. And so that's a great way to make sure that you are not getting too much naturally occurring sugar, is by making sure you have enough hydration to begin with.
That's a drop the mic, Jamie. That was awesome.
So that, Nurse Laura is going to chime in here, and that is an issue of blood volume, right? The more volume to your blood, the more circulating nutrients can be assimilated into your cells. properly, right?
Awesome. I am really in great company here. So I'm going to move on to the next slide. Is that okay?
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, ladies. So, you begin by adding whole fresh foods, whether it's dark leafy greens. I mean, by the way, dark leafy greens are the most nutrient dense plants on the planet. Okay. Just want to say that. I love dark leafy greens. And then we have avocados, the healthy fats, and then we have the fruits and vegetables of color. Okay. Loaded with antioxidants. Okay. So that's just an overall general thing. But I want to go in individually and just point out, food is really medicine. It really is. And when we're eating the proper food, the right foods for us, okay, these are the benefits that these foods bring us. Okay. I'm not going to read all of these. Whoops. Now you see it, now you don't. I am going to just, highlight a couple of them, like blood purification. Okay. Cancer prevention. And I like the promotion of subtle light, oh no, wait a minute, lifted spirit and elimination of depression. A lot of times our food and what's in our food can really, how do I want to say, emphasize our depression or our anxiety. Okay, all those bad guys, those chemicals. But food can really do a lot of things. Cleared congestion. That's another thing with greens. Awesome. Healthy fats. We're talking like coconut oil, avocado oil, walnut oil, flaxseed, all of these oils. They raise the good cholesterol while lowering the bad. They are no longer the boogeymen as was thought of years ago. These are good. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir here. You all know, right? The brain is like 60% cholesterol and it needs healthy fat, right? Our cells need the healthy fats. So our body needs it. I've heard Dr. Perlmutter talk about, people that are taking statins, how it kind of diminishes the fats that they need. I'm not a doctor, so don't stop taking your meds, but there was just something that was mentioned. Fruits, they give us energy, vitamins, minerals, rich in fiber. There's that fiber word again. Lowers blood pressure. Okay, so the benefits of the fruits. Legumes, high in protein, right? Critical to cellular function. Stabilize our blood sugar. Here's a case where all that fiber prevents you from jacking up, the A1C, right? Or the glucose and just kind of levels you out depending upon, what you're eating. Next, here it is, hydration. I've heard it said where, sometimes we'll get a headache, right? And we'll reach for the aspirin. And sometimes we just need to reach for some H2O, right? Because sometimes we're like dehydrated and we need to hydrate. And sometimes we think we're hungry, when if we had a glass of water and waited 15 to 20 minutes, we'd find out that we really weren't hungry,
Right.
So hydration is so key on so many levels. And it's always recommended that you drink half your body weight in ounces.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have a question here. And we have someone who I just noticed is in the audience, who is also a registered dietitian, Dr. Karen Enzel, if she wants to chime in on any of this and lend her beautiful point of view to the conversation. But we have a question in the audience, and that is, what about the chemicals in fruits and vegetables?
That occur naturally, right?
Yes. So I'm going to throw two at the same time. One is about chemicals in fruits and vegetables, and then the other is olive oil as a healthy fat. Olive oil and the Mediterranean diet are still in vogue. They're still recognized as healthy diets, and olive oil is still recognized as a
Yes, I didn't mention that. Yes, but it is a healthy
thank you.
fat. Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, but chemicals in fruits and vegetables, please.
Yeah, what's interesting, I learned because when I do my detox, we take out all the nightshade vegetables. That's like, the tomatoes, the potatoes, the peppers, and the eggplant. And, I asked like, well, why the eggplant? What's going on there? And apparently, eggplant gives off this like insecticide almost to keep the bugs from eating it. It's really kind of crazy, but it does. So I know that about eggplants. All about the naturally occurring chemicals in the other fruits, I can't speak on.
Well, are we talking about naturally occurring chemicals, or are we talking about pesticide treated produce?
Oh, if that's what we're talking about.
If Laura, Laura Della Cabala wants to clarify her question.
Oh, yeah, then you're speaking.
Pesticides.
Oh,
Okay,
absolutely.
thank you, Laura.
And yes. I mean, yeah, it's like, I don't know if any of you, I don't know if I mentioned earlier about the environmental working group. They come out with the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen. And actually, I read not long ago where they were talking about how strawberries are #1 in pesticide residue, right? And they said that they found as many as 22 different pesticides on one strawberry.
Wow.
I
Can
mean,
you share the Dirty Dozen workshop sheet with us that we could share out with the group afterwards? We'll send it out. Because yeah, I came across that once and I found it really interesting.
Actually, I have it right. I had it right here on my desk and I probably filed it away. But yes, the
Yeah,
hang
we'll get it out with the minutes as an
yeah,
after.
I mean, well, I know that strawberries are #1, spinach is #2, and 3 and 4, and the rest I don't have top of mind.
So
What's so fun about having Barb, not only as a colleague, but a dear friend, is we get to chat on the phone about this stuff. This is what we do in the evenings in our spare time. Barb, when you were preparing for this, you kind
I
of
have it. I found it.
you found it.
I knew I had it on my desk. It was buried.
You wanted to talk about buying organic on a budget.
Yeah, that was my next question. So you're reading my mind, because if you're talking about spinach and strawberries being, the highest in pesticides, then that would lead me to think, shouldn't you be buying that organically? So shopping on a budget with and affording organic foods.
There are some foods that we really need to buy organic. Like in that article about the strawberry I read, they talked about kale, how the environmental working group, which is a great website to hop onto their newsletter with, how 60% of the kale that they had tested had pesticide residue all over it. 60% of the kale samples tested. And even if they washed it really well, that it was still there. It was still there. I mean, they couldn't get rid of it. But yeah, so I mean, there are some foods like the Dirty Dozen. I'll read it real quick. Strawberry, spinach, kale, collard and mustard greens, apples, nectarines, grapes, bell and hot peppers, cherries, peaches, pears, celery, and tomatoes. The Dirty Dozen. The Clean 15. Now, here are some foods that you don't have to buy organic. Avocados, sweet corn, pineapple, the fruits and vegetables that have a thicker skin, if you will. Onions, papaya, sweet peas, asparagus, cabbage, kiwi, honeydew melon, cantaloupe, mangoes, watermelon, and sweet potatoes. But I mean, with what's going on with the foods that are being sprayed today, as Jeffrey Smith, I learned from him not long ago that the wheat, the oats, the mung beans, and the chickpeas are all sprayed with glyphosate, which is a pesticide, a weed killer that they put in Roundup that kills the weeds in your yard. They are spraying these crops at the time of harvest to dry them out. So, I mean, it's he said, our bottom line should be organic. And I know that some say that it does cost more, and it does cost a little more. And, I really don't know how to get around that other than when you do buy it, spread it out in the different meals that you make. Make a casserole using them. Make a soup using the rest, and, freeze some of it, have some of it out. It's
So a good point to make is not to juice with non-organic vegetables that are heavily that are of the dirty dozen. Would we all
Yeah.
agree on that?
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay, so we'll share that out. We're running short on time.
Okay.
We've got 7 minutes to go, and we want to leave time to answer some questions and have Dr. Pula share some resources on shopping on a budget for healthy
Okay.
foods, so that we could share that out with the people we serve, our families and our clients.
Okay. Can I just finish up with this real quick?
Absolutely.
This is my valuable resources. I mean, I quoted a lot of these people during this presentation. These are my go-to. This is where I go to keep abreast on what's new and happening within our food and environmental situations. So I always encourage people to sign up for their newsletters, get educated, learn more. Okay. And if anybody wants this list, I'm happy to give it to Nurse Laura. And if anybody wants it, they can reach out to Laura and she can send it to you. And if anybody
you.
needs to get in touch with me for any reason, here's my information as well.
Thank you.
And I'm going to shut down the slides, okay? Because I want to be able to see who's ever showing their faces, right?
Yep. And so Barb, please put your email address in the chat so anybody can capture it. And as we're transitioning to the last 5 minutes, thank you, Barb, for an awesome presentation. We have something from our friend and colleague, Suzanne Cornell, who's with the YMCA State Alliance. She just put something in the chat that makes an excellent point. She usually tells her participants that if you're looking to eat healthier, you'll be eating smaller portions when consuming fruits and veggies. So the cost is not as shattering as you would think, and buy for your price point. But I do want to see if Karen Enzel has anything to say, because we're so happy to have her in the house today. And I don't know if you and Dr. Pula know each other, but if you don't, you have to, from Union County. So.
Yes, well, my suggestion would be, first of all, you buy local. Buy our New Jersey fresh, New York, Pennsylvania foods. Most of our New Jersey farmers at this point are organic. So that's critical. Also, with any kind of vegetables or fruits, you need to wash them well, follow the FDA and USDA recommendations. You use a vegetable brush, cool water. Do not put soap on them, because I have a lot of clients in Union County that use detergent to try to get it clean. And now you're putting more chemicals and really lethal chemicals on food. So you do not want to do that. But USDA just released a wonderful video. It's quite long. It's on YouTube, on farming practices in the United States. And I think what you need to think about is that the farmers, if they're going to put a lot of pesticides or insecticides and use any chemicals on their products, that costs them a lot of money. And many of them today use pests to kill pests. So it's a natural way of getting rid of some of the pests that destroy vegetables and fruits. And it also takes a look at farming practices in today's world, and how farmers really are trying to make things organic or more organic than they normally would. So we're moving away from that commercial farming mindset of trying to just have a good looking fruit or vegetable and not really understanding or taking into consideration the nutrients and anything added to it that would harm human health. So I think these are things you have to take a look at as well as the research. And food safety research on farming products, there's many, many research studies. And some of them would agree with what we just heard from Barb, and some of them would not. So, and that's typical in the science community. So we each have to make our own decisions on what we're going to follow and what we're going to do. To me, New Jersey's the way to go. We don't know where a lot of these other products, what country they're coming from. And you need to know we have the strongest regulations in the world for farming in the US. And people sometimes forget about that. And they think, you know, it doesn't matter where it comes from. So think about that.
Yeah.
Think about that when you buy fish, when you buy any kind of produce or other fruits and vegetables. Where is it grown, and how do, you know, farmers in that country, what regulations do they follow?
So that's pretty important. Karen, if at some point you can get me that link, we'll share that out too, so that we can
Okay,
look at the
sure.
farming practices, because at the end of the day, we can't eat food with chemicals is not healthy, period. Right. So we need to do everything in our power. Like you just said, it's up to us to really like make the decisions on what we're going to eat, you know? Thank you. So we're going to save the links that are in the chat. We're going to put them together and send them out after this meeting. And I want to just thank Barb for an amazing, personable and informative presentation. You know, again, we like to tell people that they have to eat healthy, but it's easier said than done. So we've got a lot of health coaches in the community who help people. Dr. Pula, do you have any last words before we end?
No, thank you so much, Karen. Karen has been a pioneer. I met her in Montclair State University many decades ago, and she still continues to keep me in awe. Thank you so much, Barb. I mean, you have me checking my labels. I'm going to go visit my pantry. We never know what's lurking. Phenomenal job. And just remember, you can always reach out to Barb at barb@yourhealthtruth.com. Again, her number is 973-519-4491. She's an excellent resource. I'm so proud that you're in my nutrition professional village.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everybody. Thank you for
all.
your time. Be well. Have a great day.